Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? We got some news to talk about. Finally, some juicy news to sink your teeth into. It's looking like the Reds and the Pirates are going to be buyers at the MLB Trade Deadline. No surprise about the Reds, considering how they're playing. People weren't quite sure about the Pirates, but it looks like their plan is to be buyers. We got some news on Shohei Ohtani. You know we got to talk Shohei Ohtani here. We got some Red Sox news as well. Alex Verdugo looking for an extension. He wants to stay in Beantown. And could Triston Casas be a trade candidate? There's some rumors out there. Let's get to it. Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? Hello. Who do we got here in the chat? We got familiar faces all over the place. We got our moderator, Nicholas. He's here. What's going on? Zach is here as well. How you doing? We got some members in here as well. We got Wonder Davey. Hello. Ed Bagley. What's going on, my friend? How you doing? Who else we got in here? We got a couple more people in here. I'm seeing Analytical Side of Sports. How you doing? Brandon Dillman. Lil Spongy Official. How you doing? Robert Ballin with AC. How you doing? David Kadingo Jr. Hello. Everyone, how you doing? Welcome. I feel like I haven't streamed on a Wednesday in a few weeks. I took a little break from hot takes. We had some things coming up during the week, and I haven't been able to do hot takes. But if you have a hot take for me, I did post on Twitter today and the community tab on the channel asking for your hot take. I'm thinking I'm going to go live tomorrow night to do some hot takes. So if you have one, go to Twitter, go to the community tab on the channel, and go submit your hot take and see if I pick it for the show tomorrow night. But for tonight, we got some news to talk about for tonight. I mentioned it in the intro. The Reds have been playing absolutely amazing lately, winning again today. My goodness, the Reds just they don't stop winning, man. It's crazy to see, man, how the Reds are last year's Orioles. They're really fun to watch. I was saying on streams even before the Reds went on this win streak, I was saying the Reds were my team for next year. And I guess they decided, nah, we don't want to wait till next year. We want to do it now. But they're fun to watch, man. The Pirates as well. They got off to the hot start. They have had a couple of slumps in there as well. But the Pirates are still right in that mix. And it's looking like they will be buyers at the deadline. We're going to dive into each of those stories. And we got some Red Sox news as well. And I usually, I guess I like to talk about my Red Sox. But there's not really anything very newsworthy. I mean, you got things that you could talk about, but it's never like juicy. But, we got some Alex Verdugo extension talks, and we got Triston Casas, who could be a trade candidate according to Jim Bowden. I'm going to dive into that. And what else? Oh, of course, Shohei Ohtani. We had some a press conference today where he was discussing Shohei Ohtani and the possibility of a trade. And it's not really too juicy, but we'll dive into it and just see what just look at what he said in today's press conference. But everyone, thank you for joining me tonight. Before I do get started, I have to go over tonight's sponsor, and that is Sorare MLB, my new favorite way to play fantasy baseball this year. I've had a great time playing it. You collect digital cards to make up your team, and you can play a bunch of different people all around the world in tournaments throughout the week and the weekend. To get started, click on the link down below in the description to draft your team and to enter some tournaments and play people all around the world. And tonight's show is brought to you by BetOnline, your number one source for all your sports betting needs, whether that's Major League Baseball. We got football coming back eventually, UFC. We got a whole bunch of stuff in sports, but mainly baseball right now. So if you want to go, test your moxie, go to BetOnline and use the code BLEAV. You'll get a 50% welcome bonus. All right, everyone. Oh, and one more. We got SeatGeek as well. If you're looking to go to a game, use my code Hyde. You get $20 off. All righty, everyone. Let's get to it here. Let's get to it. So we're going to dive right in. We're not going to waste any time here. I got the music ready, and we'll just dive in, shall we? Before I do get started, we're going to just take a quick look at what's going on in baseball at the moment. My Red Sox were able to tie it up, thank goodness. The win streak is still alive, and they got the runner on second. Let's see if the Red Sox can come through. Man, oh, man. We had Max Kepler had the home run that gave the Twins the lead, but the Red Sox came back there. And like I said earlier, the Reds winning again. You gotta love what the Reds are doing, man. It's just incredible. Blue Jays picking up the win today against the Marlins, the Rays, and the Orioles. What a great series. I feel like that's kind of going under the radar this week, but the Rays picking up the win there. Taj Bradley getting the win. We got the Dodgers. Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, we got the Dodgers and the Angels. Ohtani is pitching tonight. He's already been through 3 innings, so Padres and Giants have had a couple of walk-offs there with the Giants. Let's see if the Padres can win one here tonight. Cubs getting the win against the Pirates today. Hendricks is quietly having a pretty good season. And, hey, gotta love it. Beat Rich Hill, one of my favorite pitchers. But we'll talk about the Pirates here. And I think that's actually the story of them being buyers is a little more juicy considering they're 34 and 39. But we'll dive into it. I'll give you my thoughts on that. The Mets losing yet again. I don't know what to say about this Mets team. I say that every single time I talk about the Mets. I don't know what to say. It's amazing, honestly. The Nationals getting the win against the Cardinals today. Who would have thought the Mets and the Cardinals would be this bad? I just can't believe it. Yankees getting the win against the Mariners today. Guardians picking up the win there, so they're just still staying around in that division. And then the Braves and the Phillies got canceled for today. Diamondbacks, Gallen picking up a win today against the Brewers. But that's it. So let's get to it here, everyone. Let's get to it. So we're going to talk about the Reds. We're going to talk about the Pirates. And we're basically talking about, obviously, all the news lately in baseball is the Cincinnati Reds, and they just can't lose. They cannot lose a game. They've been having all these young guys coming up for them. Even despite having some injuries in the rotation, Hunter Green, Ashcraft, Lodolo, they've still been having other guys step up for them. So, hey. Oh, also, just recently, we got some more Red Sox news. I'll wait till I talk about the Red Sox to talk about that. But for the Reds, it's just great to see what the Reds are doing. What I love about this year is that you've had just so many teams, like younger teams, really stepping up for them. And the Reds, hey, they see an opportunity on the table, and they're looking to be buyers. But the biggest thing they're looking to add is pitching. And Frank Fleming, thank you for subscribing. But the big thing they're looking to add is pitching. And I'm not surprised about that, because when you look at the numbers with the Cincinnati Reds, when it comes to the starting pitching, they're 25th overall, a 5.76 ERA, a 5.05 FIP. The xFIP is a bit better at 4.60. But like I said, they're dealing with some injuries right now. You've had Andrew Abbott really stepping up for them. You had Brandon Williamson come up. Ben Lively, he's been contributing. But as you can see here, with Luke Weaver as well, they're kind of running on fumes right now. You got, like I said, Hunter Green, Ashcraft, Lodolo. He's been on the IL since May. So they need some help there. And I'm not surprised at all to see that they're looking to add some pitching. And so Nick Krall, he went on to say here, we're in first place. We're looking to win, Krall said when asked if the team was planning to add at the deadline. Here's the thing. Man. Like, if you're in this position, you should be buying. Like, if you're in even at least a wild card spot, you should be buying. There's no other, there's no other way to do it. There's no other way to do it. But the question is what will the Reds really look to add? Now, the one thing they don't need to add, I mean, you could always add to your riches, but the Reds have the third best bullpen this year in Major League Baseball. They rank third in Fangraph WAR, ERA of a 3.79, FIP of a 4.08. So the xFIP is a little troublesome at 4.52. I don't like that very much, but they're getting the job done out there. And hey, the Reds bullpen, I'm not too worried about it because I love Alexis Diaz there at the back. Lucas Sims, he's been awesome lately. Sure, could you add another guy? Yeah, absolutely. But I think once they start getting guys back from the IL, you can move some of these guys to the bullpen. So I think the bullpen for now, I think it's fine. What I think they need to do, like they have talked about here, is add some starting pitching. And before I actually do move on to the Reds, because I think we can kind of talk about this with the Pirates as well. When I'm looking at the Pirates, the rotation, honestly, for the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'll dive into that in just a little bit here, but I don't think the Pirates really need to add starting pitching. I mean, they've been getting pretty consistent starting pitching. They're a top 15 starting rotation this year when it comes to Fangraph WAR. So I think, could you add someone here? Sure. But for the Reds, I think they need starting pitching more. So the candidates, here's the thing about the starting pitching, the market this year at the trade deadline. It's very thin. There's not really like these, bang, bang guys that are, going to be available, with like Scherzer from a couple of years ago. Like we had a couple of guys get moved last year, like Luis Castillo. You don't have like that big name at the deadline this year. But you have, I think, some serviceable guys, which I think the Reds will target those kind of guys anyway, that the guys that won't really cost you too much, guys that can give you some innings, ERA in the high 3s, mid 4s, kind of in that range, where it's not going to cost a lot to get them, and they're going to be able to give you some not relief as in bullpen, but relief when it comes to giving you some innings down the stretch. That's what I think the Reds really could use. So let me just go through a couple of candidates here. Shane Bieber is obviously the one guy that keeps getting thrown around, but I mean, with the Guardians, I've mentioned this before. I even did a video on Shane Bieber. The problem with the Guardians is that they stink, but they're a half game back. So do you really want to trade Bieber right now? Unless they think they could trade him and they could still compete without him. The problem, though, with that is Bieber has been really good for them this year. I mean, taking a look at his numbers, ERA in the mid 3s, FIP in the low 4s. He's giving them starts. He's not a free agent until 2025, so that's what makes him pretty desirable. But at this point, considering where the Guardians are in the standings, I don't think you really need to trade him at this point, especially if you're competing for this division. It's such a weak division. If you make the playoffs, anything can happen. You're 35-38 as of right now. Obviously, the offense has not been great this year. The bullpen has not been as sharp as it was last year. I don't know. This is not a great team, but they're there. The Twins are, my Red Sox are playing the Twins right now. Let's see what happens there. But no one is running away with this division. You got the White Sox, who have been so bad this year, and they're 4.5 out. One big run from any of these teams, and you could win this division. The Tigers, they completely fell off a cliff, and they're still only 3.5 out. I mean, they're picking up some wins lately, but that's crazy. The fact that the Detroit Tigers have a -70 run differential, without really diving, full force into the numbers, I'm just looking at that run differential right there, and that is nuts to me to see that they're only 3.5 out in that division. It's crazy. But the White Sox, they got plenty of talent on this team. They could make a run. The Guardians obviously have talent on this team. So that's why I feel like they probably end up hanging on to Bieber. We still have time. It's June 21st. You got a lot more time here. Cleveland, who knows? They end up losing 10 straight, and then they're just who knows? Even if they lose 10 straight, they might even still be in the division race. I mean, I don't know. But I think for the Guardians, I could see them leaning more towards moving him in the offseason, kind of like how they did with Lindor. Remember Lindor a few years ago? He was a big candidate at the deadline, and he ended up staying. So I think at this point, Bieber is probably going to stay unless things change. Unless they are, like I said, unless they feel like they could get something in return that can still help them compete. I feel like you'd probably, hang on. I feel like you probably just hang on to Shane Bieber at this point. But we're talking about the White Sox. I mean, of course, Lucas Giolito. This is the one name that keeps getting thrown around. I don't know. But like I said, 4.5 out. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But he's a free agent after this year. We all know the details with him. He's having a pretty decent season. ERA in the mid-3s, FIP in the low 4s. Lucas Giolito would be a great addition for any team. He's not going to be, I think, a game changer by any means, but I think he's going to be like that number 3 in a rotation that can just kind of give you a bit of a lift, kind of take some pressure off. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. Lance Lynn had 16 strikeouts the other day. He had 16 strikeouts. What the heck? Did anyone notice that? Like 16 strikeouts. What in the world is going on? Lance Lynn, the one thing about him is he's going to give you innings. I know that ERA doesn't look good. It's a 6.51. The FIP is not really good either at a 4.95. But when I'm seeing that last start, 7 innings, he gave up 3. He struck out 16 guys. Like, what the heck, man? He had one start this year. He had 10 strike. He's had a few double-digit strikeout starts. So, he can help you. It's just he's very inconsistent. So, I'm definitely curious to see how he does in his next start. But I wonder if the White Sox, they have the club option on him. So again, it really just depends where they're at. Lance Lynn is not the most desirable guy, I think, just because of how inconsistent he has been, but he's going to be a candidate at the end of the day. And I think a team, they got the club option there. If they feel like they want to, include him for their team next year, then you have that option. So we'll have to wait and see. Super chat coming in. Jimmy Productions, how you doing, my friend? $4.99. Oh, I'm at the Giants. He says I'm at the Giants game right now. Who do you think the San Francisco Giants should get? If I'm thinking about the Giants, I think we mentioned this the other night. I think the Giants would benefit. Again, we're talking starting pitching here. I think the Giants could benefit from some starting pitching. When I'm looking at the rotation, obviously I love Logan Webb. You got DeSclafani, you got Wood, but they're, Alex Cobb is the oblique stripling. He's had the back issue since May. You could have Kyle Harrison come up, but it looks like the Giants could use some depth. I know people keep mentioning Marcus Stroman. I'm not including Marcus Stroman with the Reds or the Pirates just because they're in division. We've seen in division trades happen before, but I probably don't see the Cubs trading Stroman to the Reds or the Pirates, so I don't see that happening. But if the Cubs are completely out of it, could the Giants be a candidate for him? I see people mentioning that connection a lot. The Cubs right now, but the Cubs are playing good baseball lately. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 3.5 out. I honestly think the Cubs are going to hang on to him. I think, Stroman as well, he wants to stay in Chicago. So, I don't know, man. People keep mentioning Stroman as a trade candidate, but the guy wants to be in Chicago. And I think the Cubs, if they're right there, why trade him? So, I think the Giants could use some starting pitching. Knowing the Giants, I know they made that Chris Bryant trade a couple of years ago. So, they have, pushed their chips to the center of the table before. I don't know. I'm getting sort of a gut feeling that if they do go after some pitching, it'll probably be like a low cost kind of a guy. They probably don't want to be giving up prospects. I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm feeling. The Giants were different a couple of years ago. They were really good. So I could understand them going after Bryant a couple of years ago. So, man, we don't hear about Chris Bryant anymore. My goodness. But Jimmy Productions, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I greatly appreciate that. But someone like an Eduardo Rodriguez, I don't think the Tigers are going to trade him, personally. I think the Tigers... I know he can opt out after this season, but I think the Tigers would like to hang on to him. You know, he's had the MIA thing before. He's had the finger issue, but to me, the Tigers signed him up for the long haul. I know they have the opt-out there, but I think the Tigers would rather hang on to him. That's just my own personal opinion. One guy, maybe Michael Lorenzen. This is a guy I think could be an under-the-radar kind of a guy. He's a free agent after this year. He's not making a whole lot of money. 12 starts, 72 innings. You know, he's going to be a guy that can just give you some innings at the back end of the rotation. I could see, could Lorenzen maybe go back home to Cincinnati? He was with Cincinnati for years. Could you see that? Could you see Lorenzen maybe the Pirates want to add some more pitching? Could you see something like that? So I think Lorenzen is kind of the guy that fits more. I'm not saying Lorenzen for the Reds exactly, but I think someone like him makes some sense for the Reds if they want some starting pitching. And then there's also someone like a J.P. Sears. Obviously, the A's are no bueno this year. I don't like that FIP at a 5.23. But the one thing about J.P. Sears is that he's under control. I wonder if the A's would even want to trade him just because they do have him under control for a long time. It's very hard to come across. You know, this is a guy they just got from the Yankees last year. I believe he was in the Frankie Montas trade. So could they deal him? The one, I can see both sides to this. One side being he is 27 years old. I know he's just about to go into his prime, but do the A's maybe feel like, you know, he's kind of a late bloomer, you know. He pitched in the majors last year. He was decent, but maybe they feel like they could get maybe some even younger pitching in return, you know. But then there's also, he's just also under control for a long time, like I just mentioned. So I could see the A's wanting to hang on to him. But it's the A's, and obviously they're terrible. And if they wanted to move a guy, maybe a team could be enticed, you know, with someone like a J.P. Sears. It would be an interesting get for a team because that's a guy that you would be able to have for a long time, and he's extremely cheap. So, but yeah, you know, I think for the Reds, it makes a lot of sense. I definitely buy into this, you know, when we're looking at just the story overall. Yeah, you know, it obviously that's if the general manager first off is saying it, then yeah, obviously that's what he's looking to do. I do think they will add something for this rotation. Personally, it just makes a lot of sense considering where they're at statistically as well, and also when you weigh the injuries. So now, if we were to focus on the Pittsburgh Pirates, so the Pirates are more interesting. Let me actually pull up here the story. Where is... Oh! No! The Twins win it. Dang it. No! Twins walk it off. Dang. Oh, that makes me sad. But let me go to the Pirates here. Where are the Pirates? There we go. So, this is the Pirates story. Pirates ownership supportive of buyer's mentality at the trade deadline. So, if we go take a look here, where is the quote? All right, so Pirates fans in particular will want to check out the full interview for Williams' comments on the deadline. So it was the president, Travis Williams. He talked with Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So he says here that by and large, however, Williams stressed that he and owner Bob Nutting, I know Pirates fans love Bob Nutting, will give Cherington the opportunity or the freedom to do what he needs to do in order to bring a 2023 postseason berth if the opportunity exists. While the while the team president went on to say it'd be silly to forecast the context of the trade market and the moves his team might make with the August 1st deadline so far down the road, he doubled down that the goal is now to be a winning team, not only this year, but for the long term. So basically what that tells me is the Pirates aren't going to be doing anything crazy. I think we can all agree with that. I think we can find common ground with that. They're not going to be doing anything massive at the deadline. I don't see them getting a big piece. I really don't. I could see them making small little tweaks. I could see them, maybe you add something, for the lineup. I think they, honestly, if it were me, the Pirates bullpen, it's been a little lately. Like, Bednar is great. No, David Bednar is not going anywhere. Don't even say it. Don't even mention it. Don't even say Bednar is a possibility. Nope, he is not. He is not going anywhere. But I think they could use something else for this bullpen. They've moved Roansy Contreras to relief. If we're looking at the IL, they've got no one else that's coming back. Well, you got a few guys here. I take that back. Sorry. Could Will Crow come back at some point? He's been on the IL since April. I think Colin Holderman. Yeah, sorry. I forgot about Colin Holderman. But he will be back eventually. And then you got Jose Hernandez. But still, even with these guys, I love Holderman. He's going to be a welcome addition when he comes back. But I think they could use another arm for this bullpen. I could see something like that, adding something for middle relief, maybe even another setup kind of a guy. I think that's a possibility. Why not? Who are some possibilities? Well, let's go take a look at what Mr. Jim Bowden had to say. Jim Bowden, where are your trade proposals, my friend? I need to see your trade proposals because I need to just absolutely dissect them and say how bad they are. Jim Bowden is always terrible when it comes to trade possibilities. I'm not even going to put all the blame on Jim Bowden. I remember The Athletic last year. They had all their writers coming up with Juan Soto trades. Some of them were so bad, and I remember the one that was proposed for the Yankees. When I read that one, I immediately knew that I don't even remember who wrote it, but I immediately knew that guy had no idea what he was talking about. I'm not saying I know everything, when it comes to baseball, but that guy had no freaking clue. He offered all these prospects for Juan Soto, and not even Anthony Volpe was in that mix. And I'm like, okay, this guy has no clue. Anyway, I digress. The Athletic is always fun. Now, let's take a look. Obviously, Aroldis Chapman, Barlow. I've mentioned them in other streams. Yeah, those are going to be those are definitely going to be the prizes of the relief pitching market. Chapman, I'm very curious to see where he goes. It's funny with Aroldis Chapman because when he first came over to the major leagues from Cuba, do you remember how many teams were lining up for him? Pretty much every team in baseball, I think, was lining up for him. And then he ends up getting traded to the Yankees back in, 2015, I think. And, so many teams were in the mix. And then when he went to the Cubs, teams were in the mix. It's he's always got just the longest line of suitors, and it's going to be the same thing this year. Barlow, he's going to be a solid setup guy, I think, or he could even be a closer for another team. Daniel Bard, he's having a good year. I just always wonder about Bard because, just because he went through all those years of not pitching in the major leagues. He had the yips. I don't know. It's I wonder if he just ends up staying with the Rockies unless he feels like he can go somewhere. Yeah, some other possibilities. Yeah, sure. Carl Edwards Jr. on the Nationals. That's a kind of a guy I could see the Pirates getting. Just something like that. It's not going to cost you a whole lot. I don't know why he has Buck Farmer here because the Reds are in contention. Amir Garrett, that's another one. He's been all right this year, but he's walking a ton of guys. Graveman. Liam Hendricks is interesting because He's just been recently having problems with the elbow, but it looks like he's going to be okay. I just wonder when you weigh that and then you weigh, you know, his comeback from cancer, I just wonder if he ends up being a trade candidate. I feel like it might be a little much. I don't know. But he can also, he has a no trade clause where he can say no to 5 teams. Actually, what are those 5 teams? What were those teams? In his firm, let's see. Where? Okay, so I don't know where they mention what teams he would say no to. Anyway, he's got 5 teams that he would not go to. So he's always a possibility. I think if he's on top of his game and the White Sox are out of it, then yeah, you know, why not? Why not? I think it'd be great if he's healthy. Pierce Johnson, he's a name, but he's not been great. Oh, I love me some Joe Kelly. I would love for the Red Sox to pick him up. I think that'd be great. Alex Lang, he's under a lot of control, so I think he ends up staying. Trevor May is interesting because he hasn't had a great year, but he has a track record. I could see like someone like him for the Pirates. You know what I mean? Like someone that's not going to really cost you a whole lot. That would make some sense. Maybe, if the White Sox do end up selling, maybe a Reynaldo Lopez. I could see that for the White Sox. Honestly, Joe Kelly on the Pirates, that'd be pretty fun. Honestly, I would love that. I'd love it on the Red Sox more, to be completely honest with you. So there's obviously some candidates out here, I think that's what the Pirates need to do personally. Pirates fans, let me know down below in the chat. What would you do? Who knows? Maybe you could even add something for this lineup. I'm all right with the lineup. It doesn't rank particularly well. I mean, if we're looking at the Pirates, when it comes to just the offense, I think where are they? Pirates. They're 19th. So, yeah, sure, you could make an improvement. Yeah. I don't know. I just, when I'm looking at their lineup, I'd rather just kind of go with these guys. Sure, you could add something. But, I mean, O'Neal Cruz, I would imagine he's probably going to be back within the next couple of months. Like, what's going on with him? At the end of May, so like 3 weeks ago, it was reported that he's going to be out of the so he's already out of his boot. So I would imagine he'd probably be back by August. Maybe by the end of August, I could see that. So that would be nice to get him back. But yeah, I mean, sure, you could add a bat. Sure. But I don't know. Sawinski has been really cold lately. But I like me some Jack Sawinski. You just called up Henry Davis. That's fun. Santana's been actually having a pretty decent year. So Reynolds, McCutcheon, they're day-to-day right now. I like the Pirates, when it comes to the offense. I mean, I don't love it, but I think it's fine. I like bullpen. That's what I think they should go for, to be completely honest with you. So let's move on here. We got a couple more stories to dive into. Not a whole lot to talk about. We're not in trade season yet. I'm not really going to be diving into trades so crazy at the moment. Sure, I'll talk about some news, but I don't know. Nothing like any, nothing substantial. Wait till July. That's when a lot of my trade content is going to be coming out. So here we go. Let's move on to our next story here. It's honestly kind of I guess it's kind of more of a non-story, and it's not really a surprise, to be completely honest. So if we're to take a look here we go. Angels general manager Perry, Mr. Perry, saying unlikely that Shohei Ohtani will be traded if they stay in contention. But last time I checked, the Angels are right in the thick of things. And they got a wild card spot as of right now. They're 5 back in the division. And, I mean, at this point, I think the Angels right now, yeah, there's no way you trade the guy. The Angels want to hang on to this guy long term. They're going to do everything they can to hang on to this guy. They don't want to trade him. Like, that's the one thing. They don't want to trade Shohei Ohtani. We all know this. But if they fall out, like, here's the thing. The Angels are a really good team. They have finally shown up. I don't know, but we saw last year they ended up losing, like, what was it, like 38 straight games at one point. I think it was 14 actually. So yeah, sure. Could something crazy like that happen in the next few weeks? Anything can happen. But at this point, if they stay on this track, I really don't see any big moves. So I'm not surprised to see something like this. So he goes on to say here, when basically asked, what's going to be the plan? What are you going to, what's going to be happening with Ohtani? When it comes to a trade, he answered here. It's pretty self-explanatory with where we're at. Said while speaking to reporters before the Angels opened the Freeway Series, who are likely to be one of the top contenders for Ohtani's services in free agency. So that's what makes it pretty fun that he's going against the Dodgers tonight. But I believe he had some more. I thought he had more quotes here. I don't know where those quotes are. Let me see. I had an article earlier and I lost it. My potato brain always giving me issues. Where is that article? One second, everyone. Everyone, if you can, while I'm pulling this up, if you can, huge favor, if you could do it for me. If you can just hit that like button. I always hate saying that. I hate to be annoying about it. But if you could hit that like button for me right now, that would be absolutely amazing. Here we go. Where is this freaking article? I had this pulled up and I lost it. Actually, in other Angels news, Gio Urshela unlikely to return. Here we go. It was on MLB Trade Rumors. Here we go. Okay, goodness gracious. I don't know why I couldn't find it. Anyway, he says it's pretty self-explanatory. I think that anybody that's watched us play and where we're at in the standings, it's obvious. When it says here, when asked if the club's performance over the next few weeks would impact that stance, he doubled down. Pretty self-explanatory with where we're at. So he's basically just saying they don't want to trade Ohtani. So, and they're not going to even dive into any of that. They don't want to even be stirring any kind of pot. They, like I said, they want to hang on to the guy. And I'm going to be honest with all of you. I know we're all like talking where Ohtani will end up in free agency. Listen, everyone. I know this is going to be a boring answer. This is going to be, we all would love to see Ohtani sign a huge deal with like the Dodgers or the Giants or the Yankees or the Cubs or my Red Sox or whatever. But don't be surprised if he ends up just staying with the Angels. Don't be surprised. He likes being there. Obviously, he wants to play for a winner. But the Angels... This is why I think the Angels are going to be pretty aggressive at the deadline, because they want to show Ohtani that they're there to win. And if they have a good season this year, even if they fall short of the playoffs, I think that might be enough to keep Ohtani around. I'm just wondering, because I'm just saying, I know a lot of you out there are thinking I'm probably sounding crazy right now, and there's no way he goes back. Don't be surprised if he just re-signs. Don't be surprised, I'm just saying. But they're going to have to keep playing good baseball. Like, if they go on like a losing streak here and they fall out of it, then yeah, it's going to be looking pretty tough. But if they're playing like this and they're in the wild card hunt all the way through, I think that could be enough to entice him to stay. So, I'm just saying. Patrick Garage 94. I don't think he would want out. Right now they're playing good baseball. He's having a great season. Right now, I don't think he's even thinking about wanting out. I think they're thinking, all right, we're in the wild card race right now. Right now, I don't think that's on his mind. I think if they miss the playoffs, then yeah, that's absolutely, that could change his mind. We'll see where the Angels end up. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where they finish, because they do have a pretty decent team this year. The rotation's coming together. Bullpen's looking pretty good. Offense is very solid, obviously with Ohtani and Trout. I don't know. I like the Angels right now. I like them. But like I said, there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. And I'm going to be real as well. Happy Cat, I completely disagree with you. They absolutely have a lineup. They rank very well in offense right now. The Angels offense right now is 6th overall in Major League Baseball. So I highly disagree with that, my friend. The pitching, the starting pitching has been coming together lately. Highly disagree. Highly disagree. Yeah, also, what was I saying? You got to remember, too, with Ohtani, if they were to trade him, he's a very expensive rental. Do teams really want to be shelling out all those prospects? It's not going to be a Juan Soto kind of package. Not going to be a Juan Soto package. But it's going to cost you a pretty penny. It's going to definitely cost you a couple of pretty high prospects, at least. I'm just saying. Right now on baseball trade values, the median value for Shohei Ohtani is right around 50, I believe, 50 million. That's a decent package right there. So I just think teams out there, I don't know if they really want to do that. So I don't really think, everyone would love to have Ohtani, but I really think that limits his market because I think teams, they really want to hang on to their prospects unless it's like they get a guy that's under control. Like Juan Soto is a perfect example. Like Soto you're going to have for a couple more seasons after last season. So like that I can understand that you're giving up a huge package like that. But for a rental, I don't know, man. I don't see teams giving up a whole ton of prospects for him. I just don't see it. I feel like a trade is probably going to end up not happening. It's going to come down to free agency. So I think it's going to be a big old market. Listen, everyone, I know you say here, Ohtani ends up leaving. How many times did I see last offseason that Aaron Judge was going to leave the Yankees? How many times? I saw that all over the place. Everyone was thinking he was going to go. Everyone. Then he ends up re-signing. Just saying. All it takes is one phone call, and you get the deal done. Everyone thought Judge was gone. And then Arson Judge went to the San Francisco Giants, not Aaron Judge. Anyway, but again, not really much of a story here. I don't think Ohtani's going to end up going anywhere unless the Angels really fall out of it. I think if the Angels are still even 3 games out, 4 games out, because we have seen a lot this season. You know what we've seen a lot of this season is you could go on one run and all of a sudden you're right back in the race. The Red Sox, last week were 5 out and it was looking pretty grim. And now they just lost. So let me actually refresh that. So now they're a couple games out, but still it didn't look very good last week and they're 2 games back now. So one good week, couple of good weeks, you're right back in the race. So if the Angels, if they're a few games out, 4 games out, even 5 games out, I still don't think they trade him. I still think they hang on to him. They're going to want to put their best foot forward for the rest of the year. So, because they want to hang on to him. Because I think if they end up trading him, there's absolutely no way he's coming back at that point. He's gone. He's good as gone. So, I don't think he goes anywhere. Anyway, let's move on here. Real quick, everyone, before I get to my last couple of stories here, I do need to go over tonight's sponsor. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, so bear with me. We got to pay the bills here, everyone. Got to pay the bills. But Rare MLB, hey, like I said in the beginning of the show, my favorite way to play fantasy baseball this year. It's been extremely fun. Giraffe Neck Mark has been playing it. Ballcap Jim has been playing it. Wardy NYM has been playing it. Yeah, we're all partners with Rare MLB, but all of us, we talked about this when we saw each other last time. We don't partner up with whoever. We've got to like their product. We have to believe in what they're bringing to the table. And we've all been enjoying it. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had a really busy week this week. So I did not set my lineup this past week. That's definitely on me. I completely forgot. But I'm going to be setting my lineup with you all here. But we did get one reward here from last week. It's not going to be a good one. It's only tier 4. But the better you do, so I got Emmanuel Rivera here. that's fine to add to my team. But the better you do, the better the card you will win. When you draft your team, you pick cards. They're digital cards that are yours and yours to keep, and you use those cards to make your team. And obviously, the better you do in tournaments, there's 2 tournaments per week, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday. The better you finish in those tournaments, the better the rewards you will receive. So for this coming week, I'm going to register for this tournament right here. So Zach Wheeler, he's been awesome lately. He's going to be pitching in the weekend, so I'm going to go with him. Jose Alvarado is going to be my reliever. I did just get Emmanuel Rivera, but I'm still going to stick with Nate Lowe. Whit Merrifield, Jonah Heim, I actually just pulled him. I'm going to go with Jonah Heim. I really like what he's been doing. Yoshida's been awesome. I'm going with him. I made a mistake last time not playing him, and he ended up having a really good game over the weekend. But for my other guy, I'll go with Whit Merrifield. He's been pretty solid. And then for my flex, I'll go Trey Turner. He's been hitting a little better lately. So there's my team for this coming week. And but for you to get started, click on the link in the description down below. It's completely free to play. But let's move on. Here we go, everyone. Thank you for sticking with me. And we're going to talk about a couple more stories here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Jim Bowden. And he mentioned this here. Listen, with Jim Bowden, you kind of have to take what he says with a grain of salt. Because he's kind of one of those guys, like anything he gets, any little thing he gets, he'll put it into an article, he'll tweet it out. It really doesn't, it ends up not meaning a whole lot. But listen, the one thing with Bowden, I will have my differences with Jim Bowden, but he has sources at the end of the day. So he has guys, I'm not sure how valuable these sources are, how reliable they are, but Jim Bowden has not been the most reliable source, but if he is going to say, something, I think it's worth at least reading about it. But he mentioned this here with Triston Casas, and it's funny that he mentioned this because I've kind of been speculating this. I don't think it's going to happen, but Triston Casas, he's saying here, could be a trade candidate. It says here, the Red Sox have been disappointed with his defense and lacking consistency. He has been playing better lately. He's having a good month of June, but he was up and down in the first couple of months, but it looks like he's finally kind of getting into a groove. But remember with Casas, they said he's going to be playing less at first base because they haven't been a big fan of his defense out there. When it comes to first baseman across Major League Baseball, he doesn't rank very well in terms of his defense. The thing with Triston Casas is he's a big dude, man. He's like, 6'5"? He's 250. He's a beefy boy, man. And, he's not going to, I don't know, he's not going to be moving around as well as some of these other guys out there. So I think that kind of contributes to his defense. But he says here, Boston still believes in Casas, and he's only 23, but there are teams targeting him just in case the Red Sox are open to a prospect-for-prospect deal that works for both sides. That's the only way I could see the Red Sox doing it is if, and here's the thing with the Red Sox. I'm going to pull them up here. Let me click out of all these tabs. I'm going to fly through these tabs here. Too many tabs. Here we go. So, looking at the Red Sox, I've mentioned this in prior streams, and I even did this in a video where I talked about if the Red Sox should sell. Well, they've turned it around. Who knows? That could still end up happening. But I mentioned that the Red Sox, the one thing that I think they could use, even though the starting pitching has been better lately, I think they could use some depth. And, you're going to be getting some guys back eventually. Chris Sale, hopefully, will come back. And Tanner Houck, he had a scary, scary incident. He ended up getting a fracture. But I'm not sure what the timetable is with him. I haven't seen anything unless I just missed it. Or he's going to be getting surgery next week. So I'm not sure what that means in terms of his season. Could he end up coming back, like wearing a mask? Like a face shield kind of a thing, or like a, you know what I'm talking about, like those masks that guys in the NBA would wear. I don't know. I don't remember even a picture even wearing something like that. But Well, I don't know. We'll have to see how long he'll be out. But Kluber, he's on the IL now, but Kluber hasn't even really been all that effective. But they could use another starter. And I think if you were to trade Casas, it would have to also, obviously, it would have to make sense. You're not just going to trade the guy just to trade the guy. I think the Red Sox, they're in a position, if they were to trade for some pitching, I think you could deal from a position of strength. And the offense has been a strength. And the one luxury that they have is, we were just looking at the IL. Trevor Story is going to be coming back soon, and he's looking healthy. He's been throwing it from shortstop. He's been looking good. And he's going to be back eventually. And we all know Story, he's got a solid bat. You could bring back Story. He could play some short. And then what you could do is Casas, if you were to trade him, you could have Justin Turner just play first. And then you can kind of have your DH spot as like your flexibility spot. Like you could have, what you could do is you could just have Duvall and, like use the lefties as well. You could have kind of like a platoon in that spot where you can kind of go with matchups and, lefty righty matchups like Duvall and like McGuire could get some at bats there. But with center field, Duvall, if you moved him out of center field, you can have Duran. But the one thing that this would do is it would give the Red Sox some more flexibility. Now, the problem, I don't want to say it's a problem, but Casas on the year, his slash line doesn't look amazing. He's hitting .215. The .332 on base is okay. The slugging is lower than what you would want. The 98 WRC plus doesn't look amazing, but he's been hitting better this month. He's starting to heat up. He's hitting .267. The on base is at .389. The slugging is at .467, so that's coming up. The ISO is at 200, so I like that. So, he is starting to hit. Maybe kind of like getting benched, or getting his role reduced. Maybe that was a bit of a wake-up call for him because he has been playing better in the last few games. He's been playing better the whole month, but the last couple of games, he hit a home run the other night. If you were to trade but now an argument for trading Casas as well is that he has value. And one team that could make sense is a team that was looking at Casas in the offseason, and that was the Marlins. Now, the Marlins, if we go back to the standings, obviously we know how good the Marlins are doing. They're in second place right now in the East. They have a wild card spot as of right now, but the one thing the Marlins could use is some offense. Now, when it comes to the Marlins at first base, they rank 23rd overall. They could use an upgrade there. Garrett Cooper has not been amazing, so you could make it, if you wanted to go with someone like Casas, that could be, that could be like a future guy for you. Cooper, I can't remember how long Cooper has until free agency. Let's see. I feel like he's under a little bit of control. No, he's a free agent after this year. So, honestly, I could maybe even see a situation if, again, this is kind of probably not going to happen, but could you even maybe see the Red Sox take Cooper back? If they were to make some kind of a deal, have him for the rest of the year. I don't know. Maybe. But the Marlins were interested in Casas in the offseason. That power they could use some power in there. Casas would be a decent bat for them if he keeps hitting the way he's been hitting over this month. But then for the Red Sox, there's a couple of pitchers here that you could get in return. They're both currently on the IL. Edward Cabrera, he's been having himself a pretty decent season this year. He has a shoulder impingement right now, but they're saying it's more precautionary. Remember, Edward Cabrera was a guy that was in trade rumors. Could the Red Sox maybe think about him again? And then there's Trevor Rogers. He had he had something going on with his, dang, I can't remember what, it was something with his, I think it was something with his bicep, I believe, but he is on the IL currently. They just transferred him to the 60-day IL, but he's going to be eligible to come off soon because it's retroactive. So could you maybe, for the Red Sox, take back someone like a Trevor Rogers who's under control? I mean, he's not a free agent until 2027, so you got a lot more time with him. He was really good back in 2021. His numbers have looked better this year over the 4 starts. I could see the Red Sox maybe being interested in someone like him. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think it's unlikely. But if the Red Sox want to add some starting pitching, I mean, these two guys right now, they're on the IL, so that doesn't look amazing for the Red Sox if they wanted to add some depth because they've been injury problems. So I don't know if these are the two guys. But I don't think the Marlins are definitely not trading Alcantara. They're definitely not trading Uri Perez. They're getting Johnny Cueto back, so they're not moving him. They're not going to trade Luzardo, I think. So I think if there's 2 guys that the Marlins would give up, it'd probably be either Edward Cabrera or Rogers. So this is the only way I could see the Red Sox doing something if they're getting pitching back. It could make some sense. Could you maybe do someone like Edward Cabrera? And here's another thing, too. I could see maybe Chaim Bloom, if you were to do Cabrera, all right? Let me just do a trade for Cabrera. And actually, let me look at Cabrera's numbers. Not amazing numbers. The ERA is a 4.70, 4.49 FIP, but he's got really good stuff. He throws hard. He's not a free agent until 2029. The strikeout numbers have been good for him this year. 11 strikeouts per 9. The walks are a problem. So maybe you could do someone like Cabrera, but let's put together a trade here. What I could see is that maybe the Red Sox, I'll just I'll throw Cooper back in here. Let's say the Red Sox get Cooper back. Where is Cooper? So they get another guy back. Actually, can Cooper play other positions? No, he's same thing as Casas, really. So I don't know. Like, could they just take Cooper back and just DFA him or whatever? I don't know, whatever. But let's say you got him back, and he can just be like a bench guy or something. And then what I could see Bloom doing is adding a prospect in here. So if you're looking at the values now, again, there's ranges when it comes to these values. So like Casas, the median value is 28.3, and then Cabrera, he could go as high as 26 or as low as 17 currently. But let's just stick with the medians here. So maybe they could add, throw in a prospect in here. I don't know. Maybe even if I were to pull up the Marlins top prospects. Maybe, I don't know. Like someone, one of these guys in this range. Maybe someone that's in double A. I don't know if they would do a shortstop prospect. I don't know if they would go with guys that are far away. Ian Lewis. Now, the one thing I think the Red Sox are trying to go with a mentality of adding athletes. I think that's what a lot of teams are trying to do. So someone like an Ian Lewis, I could see the Red Sox being interested in. Not great numbers, but the dude's fast. That's what they did with David Hamilton, right? Dude was just a burner out there. So I'll throw that in. So we got Ian Lewis. Where is Lewis? So, he doesn't even cost a whole bunch. So I don't know. Maybe something like that. I could maybe. Probably not. Again, I'm just speculating here. I'm just speculating. I just find it interesting that even though Jim Bowden is not the most reliable guy out there, I do find it interesting that he's saying that teams have been interested in him because it goes back to the offseason. All right. We heard this in the offseason. And I just feel like the Red Sox, here's another thing with the Red Sox too. And I could be wrong about this, but when it comes to the Red Sox, I think ever since Bloom has come in, they have really valued versatility. Guys that can play other positions. I feel like they almost don't like that Casas can basically only play first base. I think they would rather have, I know Turner at this point is pretty much a DH first baseman. But with Turner, he could go play third. He could even go play a little second. It's not out of the, he's 38. I'd rather keep him as a DH and, and a first baseman, but he could go play third. So he offers that versatility. That's why I think the Red Sox, ever since Bloom has come in, they value that. Now, Devers is a different story. Devers is basically locked in at third because Devers he's one of the more prolific hitters in the game. So that's a little different. Casas is not. And I know he could end up being a really good hitter, but maybe the Red Sox feel like they could take advantage of his value and bring in some long-term starting pitching. That's the only way I could see the Red Sox doing it. I don't think they're just going to give him up for, they're not going to trade him just to trade him. They want to get something that's worthwhile. But they like guys that can move around, like Christian Arroyo. This guy's been on the team forever, it feels like. But they like having him around because he can play anywhere. Pablo Reyes is a guy, who's really shown up this year. He's had a couple of moments. But he's a guy that can play multiple positions. They like these kind of guys. Kike Hernandez. Remember how quickly they signed Kike Hernandez? Because that was a guy that could play everywhere. Not a great shortstop, but he was really good in the outfield. But he has the versatility. Someone like David Hamilton can move around and play a couple of different spots. Verdugo can play multiple outfield spots. So I think they value that. And I wonder if they think that with Casas if a guy that they have play first base, they would like for that guy to also be able to play third and maybe even a little bit of second, something like that. So again, I don't think it's likely that Casas goes anywhere personally. And I don't think there's going to be much of a market for him. I don't know. To me, the Marlins seem to make the most sense. I mean, if I'm looking at first base rankings, when it comes to first base production, I mean, I don't know. Probably not the Cubs. I mean, with the Cubs, they're dead last when it comes to first base right now. I mean, I don't know. Who knows what happens with Bellinger? Could they maybe do something? I don't know. What? They don't really have a whole lot to trade, I feel like, when it comes to... Because I think the Red Sox would want pitching. I don't know. I just don't think the Cubs have a surplus of pitching to really give up. You got a couple of younger guys. They're not moving Steele. I mean, it's like Stroman. I don't know. Could you do a deal like that? But why would the Red Sox? I don't think the Red Sox would want to bring in Stroman. I think they would want a young guy. I don't know. I don't know if the Cubs are really much of a match. I don't know. I could see them wanting someone like Casas, for that, to have him for the future. But Brewers. No. The Brewers are a team. Yeah, they traded Hyde last year, but they tried to stay in contention, if you remember that. So, I don't know. I don't see that. I don't know. I bet you someone out there will suggest that could do a Triston Casas for a Corbin Burns deal. I don't see that. I'll tell you, man, I've been seeing some Red Sox fans on Twitter lately, and I don't know what some of these Red Sox fans are thinking. This is why I don't really go on. I don't know. I like Twitter for some things, but when I'm seeing some of these people post on Twitter, like reporters, like guys that work for places, like they're getting paid money. And I'm seeing like one guy, I forget what company he works for, but he suggested like, would you trade Jaron Duran and Cedane Rafaela for Luis Robert? And I'm like, why would the White Sox even trade him? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what? Like, why would the White Sox trade him? That makes no sense. He's having a really good season, and he's under control for, 4 more years or 3 more years, whatever it is. That's a guy you build around. Why would the White Sox trade him? That makes no sense. Like, people, I don't know, they just don't think. It's crazy. I'm going to be honest. Like, some Red Sox fans out there, they get crazy when it comes to, trade proposals. It blows my mind. Maybe I sound a little crazy right now, but I'm kind of just thinking, with Casas, I wouldn't take him off the table completely as a candidate if it can help other aspects of the team. So, I don't know. This is not much of a market. The Marlins seem to be like that one fit because they have some younger pitchers that you could send back. I don't see Cleveland doing it. They could use some offense, but I don't know about that. I mean, Pittsburgh would be kind of funny. I don't know. I don't think they do that. I don't think, no. They're not going to go after someone like Casas. I don't think there's really much of a market. I don't really see it. I honestly think the Marlins are pretty much it. Unless I'm missing something. Am I missing a team that could be a possible buyer for a first baseman? I don't know. The Marlins seem like it to me. But in other Red Sox news, before I get out of here, Alex Verdugo, he is looking for an extension. And he says here, I do love Boston. I've been saying it for many years. I've really been able to come into my own in this organization. I like it a lot. He says here, however, they and we want to handle it. That's how it happens. All in good time. It will happen when it happens. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I'm going to be very honest. And again, this is just my thinking. I'm definitely wrong a lot. I find it very interesting that the Red Sox haven't even approached him about an extension. It makes me think. I wonder if because he's having a really good year. You know? He's having a good year. He's having his best season. He's hitting .301, a .374 on base, .462 slugging, 2.4 Fangraph WAR. He's playing good defense out there. The base running is better this year. Oh, super chat coming in. Robert Wagner, how you doing? $4.99 Casas for Abreu and Houston. I know Houston's first base is sketchy right now. The Red Sox were in it for Abreu. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't think the Red Sox would want to take Abreu back. They were in the running for Abreu in the offseason. I think they actually came up as the runner-ups. But Abreu right now is no value. So, and the Astros don't really have a lot of young pitching that they could give up. I don't see that swap. Personally, I don't see it. I could see because the Red Sox, they went after Abreu, which I also found interesting that they went after Abreu because they had Casas. So I don't know. Unless they wanted to use him as DH, I found that interesting. Anyway, Robert Wagner, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. Alex Verdugo, I find it interesting that the Red Sox have not approached him about an extension. Why? Why have they not approached him? Because it makes me think, I wonder, and this might sound crazy, and I've said it before, I wonder if Verdugo could be a trade candidate. Or just someone that, again, kind of like Casas, Verdugo has value. If I were to go back here to baseball trade values, if I were to show you, Casas has value right now at around $28 million. Verdugo is at $22 million. That could bring you something back. And with Verdugo, there's going to be more of a market for him because he can, teams, you can move outfielders around. A first baseman in Casas, there's going to be less of a market because there's just not many teams looking for first baseman. Verdugo, on the other hand, he could fit into a lot more teams. I wonder if the Red Sox right now are kind of just hanging out. They're just waiting to see how the trade market develops. You know, like just sort of waiting around. And I think if the Red Sox are in it, don't be surprised if Verdugo's name comes up. And again, the Red Sox, where they are at right now, they are in a position where they don't want to give up prospects. Their offense has been good this year without Trevor Story. He comes back, and now the Red Sox have a surplus of offense. That could make someone like Verdugo expendable. Like Casas. The Red Sox, I think, if they're in contention, it's different if they're not. Actually, if they're selling, I wouldn't be surprised if Casas and Verdugo are still in that mix. But I think the Red Sox, really their best chips right now, if they want to improve other aspects of the team, you got Casas and Verdugo. Those are two guys that are going to bring you back something that can help you out in the rotation, you know, give you some pitching for controllable starting pitching. I could see it. I don't think it's likely, but we all know Chaim Bloom, he gets creative. Honestly, could you imagine if he traded Alex Verdugo? I think Boston would be like, I think that place would just erupt. Like, oh, you want to see meltdowns? Watch. The Red Sox, if they trade Verdugo, go on Red Sox Twitter and just have fun. My goodness, those people will be jumping off just any cliff they can find. They will be insane. It'll be nuts. But again, very unlikely. But that's the position the Red Sox are in. They don't want to trade prospects. They're not in that position to be giving up prospects. They're building up the farm. I don't see Bloom even touching a prospect. The only two guys really they have is Verdugo and Casas. And if they really wanted to make something happen with their rotation, you could use one of those guys. So, but everyone, that's all I got for tonight. I just wanted to come up live here, talk about some news. Working on some content as we speak. I've come out with some content this past week. I posted 2 videos yesterday. If you haven't seen those, you should go watch them because they're fun, and I would love you forever. Everyone, on the way out, if you can, hit that like button for me. I would be greatly appreciated. If you are new here, subscribe down below. We're getting close to 31,000 subscribers. A lot of new traffic coming in lately. So if you're new, subscribe down below. Everyone, I'm out of here. Leave a comment after the stream. Let me know, if you have any thoughts about anything I've said tonight, and I will answer you when I see your comment. Everyone, and tomorrow night I'll probably be live again to probably do some hot takes. So thank you for coming out tonight, everyone. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.